Launching alongside the Super NES way back in 1991, Final Fantasy IV, known to Americans as Final Fantasy II, introduced players to a new era of RPGs with memorable characters, an emotional plot, and a rousing score. But 17 years have passed, and twirling stamp-sized sprites don't quite have the impact they once did. But Square Enix has modernized this classic tale to make it a worthwhile journey for newcomers and fans alike.
May it be your strength, though it be the last of mine.
The story opens with the Dark Knight Cecil leading his fleet of airships home to Baron Castle, after successfully seizing a crystal from a defenseless village. Unsettled by his orders, he confronts his king only to be stripped of his post, and sent on another quest that ends tragically.
Why?
Unable to ignore his conscience any longer, he flees his homeland to defend other nations from catastrophe, soon learning that a shadowy foe named Golbez is pulling the strings behind Baron's treachery. Final Fantasy IV's plot was groundbreaking for its time, introducing a script that rivaled fantasy novels in length, and a strong cast of characters that went beyond the nameless warriors and mages of previous titles.
Where is the noble knight, the man who took me in as an orphan and raised me as his own?
While it's not quite as significant today, the story still pulls at players' heartstrings with moments of self-doubt, betrayal, and the sacrifices of close friends. The DS version features a refined translation of the Japanese script, fleshing out the dialogue with more style and subtlety, but retaining quirky lines like "You Spoony Bard" and "Lolly Ho." Menus bring an interesting addition in the form of thought bubbles, revealing each character's reactions to situations as you advance through the game. While pre-release interviews seem to indicate that there would be significant additions to the script, don't expect anything major. The plot sticks tight to its 16-bit counterpart, with just a few extensions to certain scenes.
So, you did survive. Impressive.
Jay, what in the world's gotten into you?
One of Final Fantasy IV's strongest points is its pacing. It's one of the easiest titles in the series to replay again and again. The plot quickly shuttles you to each new town and dungeon, new characters, abilities, and vehicles are introduced regularly, there's nearly always something significant to do, and the side quests you do embark on reward you with powerful weapons and summon monsters. There are some refinements necessary for bringing the game into the modern age. It's now much easier to see stat changes before buying or equipping weapons, and dungeons are mapped out on the lower screen as you explore, rewarding you with items when you fill each map to 100%. Apart from the visual upgrade, dungeon layouts are virtually unchanged, so veteran players will have no trouble raiding the game's hidden passages for treasures. However, modernization has altered the role of two key characters. Naming Way, who has inexplicably turned into a rabbit, can no longer change your character's names due to the added voice acting. Also, the Fat Chocobo's original function of storing excess inventory has been rendered obsolete by current technology. The other curious addition to the gameplay lies with Rydia's pasty new sidekick, White. This harmless-looking Eidolon plays host to many of the game's DS-specific features. You can paint his face to look like Solid Snake, train him through a series of unlockable minigames, or pit him against a friend's White in multiplayer battles. As a summoned monster, he learns from other party members, giving him a wide range of abilities, but since his strength is based on your high scores, he's somewhat of a useless diversion to all but the most ardent of minigame fans. Final Fantasy IV can take more than 30 hours to complete the first time through, and it also includes a new Game Plus feature with a handful of extra challenges, so there's plenty to keep players involved. Final Fantasy IV is a traditional turn-based RPG with random encounters, but its 1991 innovation was its use of the active time battle system. Enemies continue to attack while you make decisions, forcing you to think ahead and think quickly. The other characteristic separating it is the individuality of each character's abilities. Kain has a powerful jump attack, Rydia summons monsters, and Yang launches devastating flying kicks. The DS remake also includes a number of additional abilities that were omitted from the original US release, such as Tella's Recall, Rose's Prayer, and Cid's Upgrade. New to the DS version are augments, rare items that allow you to teach characters new abilities. Most are bestowed upon you by departing comrades, allowing you to retain their trademark skills after they're gone. You'll also find all new abilities such as the Counter Augment, which lets you instantly retaliate after an enemy attack. The device is interesting to experiment with, but will leave veteran players wondering why they'd want to teach anyone else Bard Song. Thankfully, the system can't be abused much since an augment can only be given to one character, and it can't be removed if you change your mind later on. The challenge level is in line with the original Japanese title, rather than the simplified US game. It doesn't feel more difficult at first, but magic replenishing ethers are more rare, and fights really start to ramp up when you get halfway through the game. As long as you fight most of your battles as you go, you shouldn't need to grind more than once or twice throughout the entire game. But if you do feel the need to raise your characters a few levels, the game includes a handy auto-battle function that makes the process a bit less tedious. While augments feel a bit out of place, the DS version's restoration of the original Japanese difficulty and character abilities enhances Final Fantasy IV's gameplay and keeps it engaging even for veteran players. Of course, the most striking change in Final Fantasy IV is the upgraded presentation. The entire game has been recreated with 3D models. The soundtrack has seen modest improvements, and key scenes have been enhanced with dramatic camera angles and voice dialogue, though not every scene includes voice work. The most contentious change lies with the childish character models that look nothing like the art from the original or the opening cinema. On the other hand, environments and monsters have benefited greatly. Aside from the Mist Dragon, which has been drastically re-envisioned, most of the game's creatures, towns, and dungeons have been faithfully recreated in 3D, while individually modeled weapons and spectacular new cutscenes bump up the presentation considerably. Final Fantasy IV is easily one of the best-looking 3D games on the DS. When it was originally released, Final Fantasy IV was a landmark entry in the series that set a high bar for other 16-bit RPGs to follow. Reborn, the DS version remains surprisingly faithful while bringing the game into the modern era. The few additional mechanics are somewhat disposable, but the core gameplay remains engaging so many years later.